Hello, dear friends. According to Benjamin Fulford, governments are becoming tyrannical, and this is being done deliberately. Opinion piece. Volatile situation. Hope and despair. Divine intervention. Clear improvement. Final cleansing phase. Importance of manifestation. Times of profound transformation. Let's start. A volatile situation describes a scenario characterized by rapid, unpredictable, and unstable changes associated with high risks. Volatility implies frequent and difficult to predict changes. Volatile means changeable in content, unstable or oscillating, and refers to an abrupt and unpredictable fluctuations where events evolve suddenly. The global situation has improved with the removal of most of the dark nodes that had persisted for the last 10,000 years, according to Cobra. So, positive changes are beginning to emerge gradually, but slowly. However, from a cosmic perspective, 10 years is nothing. It may seem like an eternity, but it all depends on your perspective. It's like climbing a mountain. It seems like it will never end while you are climbing. From a cosmic perspective, evil has been eliminated from the universe. A problem that lasted hundreds of billions of years has been solved. However, it only persists on the surface of the planet. We have entered the final cleansing phase. The reason it has taken so long is that this planet is in a unique situation within the universe. Humanity is still being held hostage. Therefore, this is a hostage rescue operation. The forces of light could liberate this planet in 15 minutes if they disregarded the hostages, but doing so would mean the hostages' deaths. However, the forces of light strive to protect humanity and its civilization as intact as possible. That is why the process is taking so long. Furthermore, they have already begun to physically intervene behind the scenes. No matter how much they try to worsen the situation, the forces of light can use it to awaken the population. The health crisis was precisely that. The forces of light used that situation to make many people aware that the lockdowns were planned. That triggered the awakening of the collective consciousness against suppression. However, the weak will not give up and will try to provoke another global party, but even that will lead to a greater awakening of the people who will reject that situation. That is why we are witnessing significant changes in world politics. The collective consciousness of humanity is beginning to say enough is enough to the situation. The situation has improved considerably, with the elimination of most of the dark nodes that had persisted for the last 10,000 years. So, the results are beginning to emerge gradually, but slowly. Here, we must be patient. However, from a cosmic perspective, 10 years is nothing. They may seem like an eternity, but it all depends on your perspective. It's like climbing a mountain. While you are climbing, it seems like it will never end. From a cosmic perspective, evil has been eradicated from the universe. A problem that lasted hundreds of billions of years has been solved. The reason the war in Ukraine continues is that humanity hasn't completely stopped it yet. Deep down, people still think they have nothing to do with it. But once the war starts spreading to Europe, humanity will declare enough, and then the war will cease. Once the option of war is no longer available, the dark forces will try to collapse the financial system and introduce a digital system via mobile phones, controlled by computers. However, that won't succeed either. The main reason is that technology hasn't advanced that far yet. Furthermore, the resistance movement has implanted viruses in its system, and these viruses will be activated if the dark forces try to activate the digital financial system. This is how we reach the climax of the game. The dark forces have even fewer options. They behave like cornered animals. When that happens, they panic, and their actions become unpredictable. The current situation is highly volatile, and chaos is escalating. However, we live in times of profound transformation. Amidst this, the forces of light are devising strategies to ensure humanity's survival. Without their help, we would not have survived. That in itself is a great victory for the light. From here, the goal is in sight. However, in these times of transformation, hope and despair are intertwined. Similar events have occurred in the past. However, this time our goal is far greater. This process is so immense that we tend to experience both hope and despair simultaneously. Intervention. Divine intervention refers to a supernatural force that directly influences world events. It is the belief that the Creator can and chooses to intervene in human affairs, whether to guide, protect, punish, or alter the course of events in a way that transcends the natural order of things. Physical intervention began after August 21st, 2025. The forces of light are reducing the use of directed energy weapons and the scalar wave weapons. Therefore, many people are no longer being attacked by these weapons. It should be noted that the elimination of these weapons is not linear, so attacks continue in some areas. The second physical intervention is that the forces of light are using specific human agents to reduce violence on Earth. This also involves matters related to a financial reset, such as the price of gold and silver, but they cannot yet intervene directly because it is not safe. A new financial system backed by gold and silver will begin. First contact will start, and suffering and poverty will disappear as quickly as possible. Natural beauty will return, and breathtaking architecture and art will emerge. Always focus on reclaiming your own dignity. Always treat others and yourself with humility. First contact. It all began in the late 19th century, when the Pleiadians and the Aldebarans decided to initiate a secret space program on this planet. The chosen one was Maria Orsic from Zagreb. She possessed a Chintamani stone and used it to connect with the people of Aldebaran and led flying saucer technology. This technology was taught to her in ancient Assyrian and Sumerian. Had the dissemination of this technology been successful, humanity would be using flying saucers, but the Nazis stole this flight technology, and Maria Orsic and the other women were rescued by the people of Aldebaran. That happened in 1945. Now they work in the Coalition of Worlds. Berchtesgaden is a place of great importance. Surrounded by mountains, it's like a natural satellite disk. In fact, this will be one of the first places where first contact occurs. That's why they installed directed energy weapons and scalar wave weapons. The caves are also under surveillance. 10 years ago, we could enter those beautiful caves, but not anymore. Interesting or curious. We are the seventh advanced civilization on Earth. Sumerian records show that 6 preceded us. After the event, Yeshua and Mary Magdalene will return in light bodies, teach the same knowledge, and continue spreading light as before. Matilda of Canossa and Lorenzo de' Medici belonged to secret societies whose main purpose was to preserve the mysteries of the goddess Mary Magdalene. They were important figures who brought much light to the matter. Leonardo da Vinci suffered a great trauma in his childhood that damaged his emotional body. This is why he was used by dark forces. In fact, he opposed the activities of the white nobility. Furthermore, many of his inventions were not his own. He received information from Chinese dragons and made it appear as his own inventions. Origin of the black nobility. The House of Gonzaga is an Italian noble family that ruled Lombardy, Italy between 1300 and 1700. It merged with the House of Valentine and the House of Savoy, and through cooperation with the House of Posse, became the modern Venetian nobility. Where did the orphans of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, also known as Cabbage Patch foundlings, come from? They were abandoned anonymously by mothers in extreme poverty, although some say they came from Tartary. Some alternative sources claim that these children were survivors of an advanced Tartary empire destroyed by mud catastrophes in the 18th and 19th centuries, and were relocated to European orphanages to erase their cultural identity. Ravens are studying us. Scientists used artificial intelligence to decode the language of ravens, and what they discovered was astonishing. The AI detected structured language, syntax, plant behavior, and that humans are the primary target of communication for ravens. Breaking news. 2025 was the best year in the history of global tourism. The price of silver surpasses $89 per troy ounce for the first time. China will update its digital yuan in response to the rise of stable coins. China's dominance in artificial intelligence has Microsoft panicked. Iran is hiding a surprise to flood the oil market and crash prices. Volcano alert in Oregon. An underwater mountain is pushing the ocean floor upward. Some women in New York are adopting pigs as pets to avoid being harassed by Muslims, now that Mandami has become major. Europe. Trump is waging war against the British Empire, not just Greenland. Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway are sending troops to Greenland. Brussels considers Greenland to be covered by the European Mutual Defence Clause. Colonel Douglas MacGregor argues that the European Union will face more internal divisions and it is unnatural to force its unity in a multipolar world, and criticizes Western arrogance for underestimating these global changes. Spain. Irene of Greece, sister of Queen Sofia, dies or passed away. The Spanish economy grows, but bankruptcies soar. The Spanish government proposes a 3.1% increase to the minimum wage by 2026. Spain will assume command of the NATO mission in Iraq in May. Americas. The US is pressuring Mexico to send troops into its territory to combat drug trafficking. Mexico breaks its corn import record for the third consecutive year. Massive blackout in the Buenos Aires metropolitan area. Accumulating dollars without devaluing the currency is the central dilemma for the Argentine government in 2026. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.